just sit at home. Like,
These
I just don't get
people
it.
just don't get over, they just don't get over being on the show. I mean, I think it's like, well, look, you know how they say, like, if you date someone for a year, it takes 6 months to get over, it takes 50%. You
Yeah.
look at certain people, although I mean we have Gretchen back in our lives. I mean, which I'm fine with Gretchen, but like you look at
You're fine.
certain people that I think have stopped talking about their time. Like they didn't, but like Joyce Gerard from Beverly Hills, you don't hear her talking about
Right.
it. Or, I mean, I don't know,
Or
like
Dorinda. Dorinda's a little better. She doesn't bring it up at every interview.
she's getting better. I mean, I think so. Like, look, I've had a lot of people on my podcast years ago that I don't even think would want to talk about it now. Because at that point, it was 5 years, 9 years. Now, for some of these people, it's like 10, 15 years. You know, do they like the twins from New Jersey? They don't talk about this shit ever. Like they're living their lives. I wouldn't
Yeah.
talk
I
about
forgot
it
about that.
at all if you were not paying me anymore. And
Yeah.
I get it. Like when people call for an interview, you want to please people, right? Like if they call you over and over, you're like, okay, I'm going to do you a solid. Obviously, anyone that interviews the twins, this is what they want to talk about, but they just don't say yes to interviews. So, I mean, I agree with you. Like it has been a whole season. You know, I like Monica, but I think it's this isn't it. Like it's that's not it. This isn't it.
I don't think it's it. And again, I can understand like Talene, for example, like she was in LA and her and Chanel are with Nene Leakes and they're on the red carpet and they're doing a photo shoot at In and Out. I understand that because these ladies want Bravo to see these stories and be like, they're hanging out with Nene Leakes, they're hanging out with the girls from Selling Sunset. They're relevant. So maybe we bring back the show, right? So this is like strategic. That's smart. I'm like, I'm fine with that. But if 5 years later they're still doing it, it's like, girls, you got to move on. Like,
Well,
you got
then
to
you
move
have
on.
to give credit to Margaret Josephs too, because she was there too, just to remind Bravo that she was don't cast me out of the New Jersey salary. You know, don't cast me out just yet. Because she was at that
There you,
dinner,
there you
Margaret.
go. Smart.
I
I think it's
thought
smart.
I thought the most interesting thing about Monica's statement was that she's like, "Oh, my good friend," or I think she even said best friend, but she's like, "My good friend Koa helped me pull this off," and blah blah blah, and he helped him pull off the. I mean, Koa is he was on my podcast, and he was the designer that Jen Shaw was screaming at, "Get the fuck out of my house," and through the phone or whatever the fuck it is.
Yes.
So, I mean,
Yes.
these people still all, I mean, these people are friends. They still all hang out together,
I mean,
right?
okay, that's refreshing. It's like kind of like, when you watch Atlanta and you see Phaedra, she's still with Dwight. Like it's kind of like, okay, like because that time, David, they were really like only picking friends. Now it's like they're kind of casting people. Like I wouldn't be surprised if they're like, we need new people for the Valley. Like, come on down. Like it's not always friendship.
It's not always friendship. Sutton has kind of been doing some backtracking, not really, but she's saying she's shocked at herself from a few weeks ago that she made this comment about Dorit and the wallet, and she's saying it is what it is. I don't backtrack. But look, when I'm angry, things come out of my mouth, and it is what it is, and I'm shocked myself. So she's doing some backtracking. She's also saying that, by the way, for all of those that have an issue with my mother, she doesn't give a fuck. She's 82 years old, doesn't give a fuck, doesn't even know, and keep your comments coming. I don't really care, but Reba certainly doesn't give a fuck because she doesn't even know about them. And even if she did, she doesn't
So
care. When I do agree, the older you get, the less you care about shit like this. And I would imagine when you're 82, you don't care about any of it.
I don't think you care. And I think that when you get older, you're just like, eh. And I think that's part of getting older. And you're also in the South, and she's, an older woman and she's going through a lot. She lost her partner. Like, I don't think she's sitting there looking at comments and dissecting it. I mean, again, is what Sutton said, like, oh, my wallet's bigger than you and Pori. But, Kathy Hilton kind of said that about Mauricio. She basically called Mauricio poor as well. So I think it's just about how you say things, and I think Sutton just gets really activated by I was gonna say Dorit, by Dorit. But what I love about Dorit is that Dorit, even when you abuse her in her face, she shows up and does the job. Shows up to the fashion show. She says, good job. I mean, we all saw the fashion show. It was a mess. Like, it was an absolute mess. So I'm like, okay, like, but she showed up and did the job. So I do like that about Dorit. And I think Sutton, whether she's backtracking now on the after show, she said, I will never apologize. She she's just kind of like that. She's a bit shrill. I mean, that's just what we're used to.
Can Dorit next season when she's still on the show, in addition to the fact that she will probably be actually getting a divorce for real, because can she please bring back Beverly Beach? I mean, that would be a good storyline. Where is Beverly Beach? I want it back.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, don't say you're a designer and then not acknowledge that Beverly Beach, or then remember she did that wedding dress thing. I'm like, bring that back. I mean, some of the stuff was stunning. Remember she wore that pearl outfit? I'm like, okay, even if you're not designing it and putting your name on it, I mean, these girls are making so much money on Amazon Live. I'm surprised why Dorit's not doing that.
I'm surprised. Well, look, she's going to need something because I think she's going to be headed for a divorce. Also, I mean, I call out all these housewives for being broke and living above their means. Mauricio Umansky has actual real money. So, in what world do we live in that Kathy just that fucking rich that she actually thinks that Mauricio is poor? I mean, the agency is worth like $100 million.
I know. I'm like, Kathy, Kathy. But Kathy doesn't care. I mean, I loved when they were in that imaging room and she kept saying that lady and then the lady from the dancing show. And like, she just kept wanting to, and Kyle kept, we're not talking about that. We're not talking about that. You know, I think if Kathy was the producer of the show, Kyle would tell us everything about Morgan. She'd be pushed to the brink. So maybe it's good that she's back.
We'll make yeah. Kathy's just like, oh wait, we're not supposed to talk about that now. Kathy's like, I like can't keep up with all these rules, Kyle. I just like I mean, even in the car when she was like driving and she's like, oh yeah, that is what I'm talking about. The picture. I just didn't know if I was supposed to bring it up or I was waiting for you to bring it up. She doesn't know. She doesn't know.
Oops.
But
She
that's
doesn't
why.
care. I mean, I love that.
No, go on. I was gonna say that's why you gotta love Kathy because she doesn't. She does. I mean, she'll tell Kyle like she's like, but that's what's actually happening. Like, so what do you mean we're not talking about this now? I don't get it.
Exactly. You're on the show. We're talking about it. Like, that's what I love about Kathy, and she kind of gets in it. And I did like that they kind of on the after show talked a little bit about the manipulation that Kathy does. Like, is this a shtick or is she really out of it? You know, she's kind of like a mafiosa with the parties, and you get blacklisted. So there's a little bit of that with Kathy. So that was interesting.
That's what I said. I said, this when she says we'll do a ringy dingy, I talked about this on another show. That brings me right back to Aspen and Lisa Rinna and Lisa Rinna exiting the show and Lisa Rinna's PR parting with her the same day Paris Hilton's parts with her because one works with Nikki and one works with Paris. And I mean, and also, by the way, I mean, Catherine Edwards brought this up when she was on my show. And I'm like, it's a good point. Like, if if Rinna came back to the show and Denise was on the show, we would have that's a big one. Like we would have to get these two back together. If LVP came on the show,
Mhm.
her and Kyle would have to sit down. Why we just forgot that Kathy and Erica, like basically the last time we saw them, Erica's like, I will always stand up for the gay community. You said this, I'm standing by it. Period. And Kathy
Uh-huh.
was like, fuck
Mhm.
off, Erica. So, I mean, and then Erica lost her PR person. She did. We can spin it any way she wants.
Yeah.
Erica's PR person is also represents Nikki, and Lisa Rinna's also represents Paris. And they both lost their PR person the same day. Coincidence? Give me a fucking break. It is not a
I don't think.
coincidence.